right, there's a bunch of our Coast to Coast faithfuls filing in now. Scott Stefano, Jeremy Sather, good to see you. Mike Draco, Jeremy Valentine, Fort Wayne, Indiana. Scott Stefano coming in from Jersey. Brad Kilpatrick, how's it going? Good to see you here, buddy. Brian, Swansea, Mass. David Crum, Butler, New Jersey. Hey man, this is Chris with Cycle Source Magazine. I want to welcome you guys to Tuesday night here at Coast to Coast. Great way to start the week. Chris Simmons and Michael Lichter getting ready to bring another fantastic show your way. We're just 3.5 minutes out. Hurry up and hit that like and share button so everyone knows we're going live with this evening's Coast to Coast. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Lancaster, PA. I got to give it up for my boy Keith Pronoff there. Hometown PA guy. Walter Benarski, New Jersey, checking in. So good to have so much support. And I want to thank everybody over at the Cycle Source Magazine and Chopper Town for helping us keep this kind of two-wheel entertainment going and keeping our community together through these times and beyond. We dig it. We love bringing this stuff to you guys. Make sure you get involved the whole way through the show. You'll see this chat box. You can participate from wherever you're watching the show. Just put your questions, comments, and concerns up, and the host will try to get to them throughout the show. Hey, just 2 minutes left, and we're going live with Coast to Coast. Stick around. Coming down the line, Mike Draco, Cincinnati, Todd Core, hello, Doug Riquette, Walla Walla, Washington, Pat Fitzgerald, St. Louis. Good to see all of you guys. Bruno Capola, good to have you in the house. Kevin Cooksey, Bobby Clark, Northern California. Hey man, we're just about 30 seconds out, so I'm going to sit in the back room and turn this over to the professionals. We're going to get this one out of the stall and up on the racetrack and go live with this week's installment of Coast to Coast. Here we go.
Hey everybody, happy Tuesday night, coming to you live from Maui, Hawaii, where we actually had sun today. I'm so shocked. I looked up in the sky and I was like, what is that shiny bright thing in the sky? Anyway, this is our 32nd show. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. This is the wonderful show that we put out. I mean, just all these great women that we get to interview. I'm so excited. And tonight I'm really excited. Let's bring in my co-host, Michael Lichter. Come on in, Betty boy. Where are you? There
Hey,
you are.
Chris. Here I
How's it
am.
going?
I'm doing great. I'm
Yeah,
doing
you went
great.
out for dinner, huh?
I went out for dinner for the first time in over a year. So that
Wow.
was something special. We celebrated our son's birthday with Kira and Sean. The four of us
Yeah,
went out. We went to this food hall with great food and
great.
cocktails, which is, I mean, what a treat. It was really special. And we had a great birthday celebration. So
Yeah.
happy
Happy
birthday to my
birthday,
son,
Sean.
Sean, 33 years
Yay.
old. So,
32.
right, so
Wow.
33. My goodness.
33. Oh,
Yeah,
wow. Well, he's getting old now that he's 33 and not 32, but
he's the baby. And I put it together a leather album for him. And it's
oh,
just, it had
nice.
80 shots. It was like his first 12 years, you know? And it was so cool, kind of reminiscing,
Oh,
putting it together. And he went through it. And then Kira put together a album, another
mhm.
beautiful album that she collected recipes from all the family, friends, and his friends, even from Ireland.
Nice.
People wrote out
Oh,
favorite family recipes, and it's all in a binder for him, and it's all
oh,
decorated. And
I'd love
so
to
it's
see
kind of
that.
a
I say
really
Sean
cool.
was the cutest little boy. And that's how long I've known you because our kids were, really young together.
I
It's kind of
know.
funny. Yeah, great. Well, um, we've had a weird week, as we know. We had
Yes,
some interesting stuff happen in
ups and
your
downs,
town.
right? In my
Yeah.
town, and I
Mhm.
think we gotta, the elephant, let the elephant out here and just address it, because we did have a tragedy in Boulder, Colorado yesterday. We had
Yeah.
10 people were killed in a grocery store in a
Mm,
senseless killing. That
yeah.
second time a mass killing in the U.S. in
Mm,
6 days, and it's in my hometown, which is normally a quiet, peaceful town and a small
yeah.
town. And I'm
Wow.
saying this also because we'll get it out now, because
Mhm.
Erin, our guest tonight, she lives here as well. She's in Boulder County, so it's going to
Right.
affect all of us probably
Mhm.
forever. I mean, it's just one of
Yeah.
those things. It's part of the
Well,
DNA now. So
yep. Just keep everybody in our thoughts and just hope maybe some changes could be made at some point.
yeah,
Somehow. We don't want to get into the politics
address
thing
it.
of it, even though Michael and I are very political, we kind of like keep our show a little bit separated from that. But yet we still need to bring up things
Yeah.
like that do affect people. So
Yeah,
anyway, we're
no,
thinking about everybody and families
yeah,
and stuff.
thoughts
So
and prayers go out to all these people. But
definitely.
anyway, so
Yeah.
life will go on, and we'll have another show. Our 32nd, I think you said, was that right?
This is our 32nd show, and I'm kind of nervous because this woman has just done so many cool things, and I have so much respect for her. I'm just kind of like, oh
I'll
my
tell
God,
you,
here it
I'm
is.
not nervous at
Yeah.
all. I am absolutely excited. I'm
Well,
thrilled.
wait,
And the
you
best part of
too.
all
Yeah.
this is that she lives just 15 miles down the road here. And
Right.
so I can't wait to get together with her and meet and talk and go riding in person. We already agreed we're going to go get
Right.
get some breakfast or something, go out for a ride. So that's awesome.
So you
Maybe
didn't know each other before this show.
did not know each other.
Okay.
And
See, this is
actually
what I
through
love.
you,
Yeah.
because you go back with
Right.
Erin through your women's
Yeah.
panels and all
Yeah.
the
I've known
stuff
her
you
for
do.
years.
And so
Yeah.
I'm thrilled that you got to introduce
Right.
us. And it's such a different world from
Yeah.
us, and what we do with
Mhm.
our stretch, antiques on one side, and
Mhm.
then choppers and Sturgis
Right.
and all these events on the other. But
Sure.
LSR,
Yeah.
I've done that back to 1990 when I shot the Easy
Mhm.
Riders Land Speed Racer, but it's still not really part of our vocabularies, which makes it
Right.
more exciting.
And which is so much fun for the show because we get to show women from all over. In fact, we have someone from the UK next week, I believe. So it's kind of expanding to all different types of motorcycling, and it's just fun that because you introduced me to so many people that I hadn't met before. So I'm always happy when I get to say, "Hey, how about some of my friends that you don't know?" So
That's awesome. I'm thrilled
yeah,
about this. And also, we should say at this point,
mhm,
listeners, chime in on the chat, email
yeah,
me, mike@lichterphoto.com, or email Chris
right,
directly through our website.
mhm,
Keep those names coming. We have a woman from India coming on. We have someone from
yeah,
England next week that I think
right,
Rob Nussbaum referred, and then somebody
mhm,
from India in a month. So, I mean, this is
mhm.
really exciting. It's broadening out. But on that note,
Yes.
why don't we cut to the chase?
Okay, hit your share and like buttons, and let's bring on our friend
And I think
Erin Sills.
we have a little
Wait,
intro for
that's right.
Erin too. So let's see that first, and then right
Yeah,
into
here we
Erin.
go. Okay.
All right.
Holy cow! There
Wow. Wow. That's so
I
exciting.
I got goosebumps. Woo. That was
Aaron.
awesome. Can you hear us, Aaron?
Uh-oh,
There
Aaron.
you are.
Okay.
Hey.
We're
Hi.
thrilled. Now, if you're watching it live, you got to be careful because it's like an 8-second delay. So that may throw you off. But
Yeah.
anyway, that was such an exciting way to bring you on.
Oh my gosh, it just gives me it gives me goosebumps and makes me want to go get on my bike. It makes me want to go race.
That must be such an addicting feeling of that adrenaline. I can't even imagine what that's like. Just like, poof, you know.
Yeah, it's a very
crazy.
it's a very focused thing. I don't know if it's adrenaline, but it's
Mhm.
it's definitely a focus that that I can't achieve or experience in any other way other than being on that bike at top speed.
I'll bet there is a scientific explanation. Is it like dopamine or what's released in the body that makes you go for more? There's got to be a medical scientific explanation of what makes you want to go back again and again and again.
Yeah.
I would love somebody to answer that because we actually call it our team, we call it racer brain because
Okay, there you go.
I'm so focused hours ahead of time, and then we race, and then after I take a pass on the salt, it can be an hour or so afterwards where I'm still telling the team something. I might repeat myself times over and over again because I'm just so
Giddy. Giddy.
I know.
I would be giddy. Yeah.
To Michael's point, there's got to be some scientific explanation for what happens when you become so focused, and then that focus, kind of releases. It absolutely. I would love to know the scientific explanation for it because I guarantee it's happened, and I know other racers that say the same thing.
Well, Steve Kronoff he chimed in and just said, "Well, it's the need for speed with 3 exclamation points."
Right.
But that being said, there has to be a chemical in the body that's released or something that's going on. So I'm going to watch for more comments here because maybe we have a doctor that'll chime in.
Really.
But anyway, it's been so exciting that Chris has gone back and you've known each other for some years, but for me to just meet you now and you only live down the road. So I've watched all your videos and they're very well produced. There's a few, and our viewers here should check out. I mean, there's one in particular. It's a 9-minute video that's really about you and also about your husband that you lost 5 years ago, Andy, and your relationship and racing. And that's a wonderful intro video, as well as that intro that we showed, which is just a 20-second snippet of a 3-part series about building the bikes and racing the bikes in Bolivia. And
so beautifully
it's
done.
wonderful. You really did a great job.
Gorgeous. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we Stephen Gregory from Gregory Imagery came with us to Bolivia, and it was a godsend to have him with us. And we ended up we handed him a wrench at one point, but they put him
all
to
hands
work.
on deck,
right? But he ended up doing a 3-part series for us. But on
did a great job.
For Bolivia. Yeah.
That other one that I mentioned, just for our viewers, it was done by Athletica. They could look that up. So an Athletica YouTube video on Erin Sills, and it's wonderful. It's really
and you
great.
can get them. I think you can get the links on. Is it huntersillsracing.com is your website?
Yeah, I should have them there. Yeah.
Okay, great. We can put that up too.
So everybody got this little intro of you, and we've hyped it up because we're both so excited. But we really should go back and we got to hear, like, when did you ever get on a motorcycle when you were a little kid? Or is it really not until you're 35?
Yeah.
No, my brother. So my dad had a motorcycle before I was born. So it's probably genetically predisposed somewhere along the way. And then my brother and I, once when we were visiting my grandparents, we dug up a dirt bike that was in the back of a barn and kickstarted it. And thank God we survived because we ended up doing loops around a dirt track in the backyard of our grandpa's farmhouse. And at the end of that afternoon, we sat down on the front porch and wrote a note to each other saying that we were going to be back in the year 2025 on motorcycles. And we were like, I was probably 8 years old. My brother was probably 15 years old. And we still have those little notes that my brother also got his motorcycle license. So, but other than that, that's the only time I was on a bike until I was 35, really.
Wow.
That's pretty cool though. That is
Just that
pretty
one
cool.
time. And yeah, and then moved to San Francisco and started riding seriously pretty late in life compared to a lot of people. You both probably started riding when you were, old enough to walk, I bet.
I was a latecomer. Not quite as late
Really?
as you, but I was. I mean, I'd ridden other people's bikes as a kid, but I didn't have my own bike until I was 20. Is when I really got
Wow.
my own bike. Yeah.
Oh. I was on the back at 9, and I got my first bike 14 or 15, and my first Harley when I was 19. My first big bike when I was 19. So
Yeah.
it's
It
been.
probably had to be a Harley, right? You wanted a Harley. It's going to be a Harley.
Yeah, I mean, I still remember the first time I heard one. I can still remember running out of my house because the neighbor had one. I was like, what is that? I had a dirt bike. I had a Yamaha 100. My first bike it was a little street bike. But I don't know. I just had a thing for the Harleys. And, I love any motorcycle, but I haven't really ridden many other brands. I rode a Kawasaki for a while before I got my other Harley. But yeah, it's my thing.
Yeah, I started in 1999 when I moved to San Francisco, and the advice I got was to buy the best bike for you for now. So that therefore it was a used bike because I wasn't sure what I knew I wanted to do sport touring riding, so it wasn't going to be just a crotch rocket, and it wasn't going to just be a cruiser. So I got a Honda VFR and did a lot of sport touring riding and started that way.
So tell us about your first rides. I mean, did you borrow a bike? I mean, you just went out and bought it? Did you take a class? How did that start?
Actually, it was Andy who taught me how. I had my motorcycle license, so let's back up a little bit. I did go to an MSF course, and I got the motorcycle license and borrowed a motorcycle that the MSF they would loan them to you. So I did what a lot of people still do today, and I did it a while ago. And took the course in a parking lot, and at the end of that course, it culminates with you riding over a railroad tie, and I thought I had conquered the world because I rode over the railroad tie. Get your license, and then you do 2 evenings of coursework, and they scare you into how dangerous motorcycles can be. So I had my license on paper, but I didn't really start riding until I moved to San Francisco. And I met Andy, and he had retired and had his motorcycle license, and as he would have put it, had a little bit of money in his pocket and a lot of time on his hands. So he rode quite a bit. And for the first year, actually, I rode as a pillion, as a passenger with him. And he was 5'3", and he always rode bigger, taller bikes. And I mentioned that because it meant that he had to think through things maybe a little bit more than someone who's a 6'4" person on a little bike. So for a year, I was on the back as a pillion with him, and he would, through comm system, he would tell me everything he's doing, when he's doing it, and why he's doing it. So things as simple as pulling into a gas station and always going to the same side of the pump, so that's one less decision you have to make. And he would encourage me to, even though I was the pillion, he would encourage me to move my body in the same way that he was, so that if we were turning, a certain direction, I was moving with him. And that rather than being kind of a passive, just look around at what's going on in the scenery, I was an active rider, even though I was in
that's a great way to learn. That's a really good way to learn how to ride.
That's it.
And you learn about the shifting, you learn it. Yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
Really good for Andy. Good for Andy.
Yeah. After a year, got my license and started doing my own thing, and said, I'll take over from here. It's kind of how it
There
went.
you go.
Where were your first trips then when you started venturing out on your own? Well, with Andy, but on your own bike. Where did you go? I mean, what a perfect place to be based, San Francisco, because you got the mountains, you got the ocean, you got Marin, you got so much to choose from.
Yeah.
Well, and as a sport touring rider, those were all, Marin is far too close. So I would say basically Utah, Nevada, and anywhere in the western half of the U.S. was fair game.
There you go.
Yeah, a lot.
And a long distance rider, that is, to me, you do it all, really. I mean, the salt's one thing, but getting out on those long rides is really where it's at, huh?
Oh, I'm not sure I would ride as long as you do on as little a bike as you do. So
Yeah.
but yeah, I prefer the longer ride.
Right. Well, you could do that. You could do anything, Erin. I think you should ride a cannonball. We'll have to talk about this later. You may have to get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, try
Okay,
something new. You like that?
All right, Chris, will you come land speed race with me?
Oh, there you go. I like that.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm a little scared.
That's how competitive our guest is this week. She knows how to throw the gauntlet down, right?
I don't know.
Oh,
I don't like to go fast. I like to
I
go
meant-
slow on an old
Well,
bike.
like you said,
Long.
Chris, get out of your comfort zone.
Hey, okay. I'll teach you how to ride a hand shift foot clutch motorcycle.
And I'll
But you
teach
know,
you how to ride a
one
land
thing
speed bike.
about land speed racing, and I think you mentioned this to us in a pre-show, is you had that one bike that was sat almost on the ground. It looked like a slug, and so it was, what was it, 50 cc's? Well, how big was it, Erin?
Oh, we should get into the pictures. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So I raced a Jack Costella designed streamlined motorcycle. It's 14 inches off the ground and 14 feet long.
Oh my
Yeah.
God!
It's the yellow motorcycle. We have a picture of it.
You could
here.
bring up
We have to
shot number
skip ahead.
9, Chris. Yeah, I could skip ahead to
Yeah.
number 9, 10, and 11 because they're pretty wild there.
Ooh. Yeah,
I would
you only go
describe
over
it-
the speed
Now,
bumps for that.
they're strapping you in. Isn't that what's going on here?
So it's a streamliner, which means that you can't see the rider at all once the fuselage is closed. So it looks like a glider with the wings cut off, is the way I describe it to people. And in this image that you're showing now, yeah, so that's me laying on my stomach with my face head forward, prone, and you're wearing a fire suit. So you've got Nomex gloves and Nomex booties, and they're putting a 5-point harness across my over my shoulders and up through your legs, and then they're pushing you down against the vehicle so that if something were to happen, you would be inside the roll cage and be protected by that. By the
So
roll
is your
cage.
chin resting on something? What is your head doing? It's
Show,
kinda-
No,
let's
I
bring up
was-
the next photo. It shows the inside of this same
Oh, yeah.
thing. Shot number 11. I mean, this is so confusing to me because there's actually a person in this photograph where the fuselage is taken off, and I believe that's Andy in the cockpit. Is that correct?
Yeah, so it's, if you look through, that's obviously without the fairing on the motorcycle, but that's a fiberglass cover over a stainless steel front wheel, and there is a person back in there. He doesn't have the fire suit on, but he's got a helmet on, and he's laying prone. And one of the most difficult things, Chris, you're asking about was actually lifting my head up, the physicality of holding myself up and steering the motorcycle, which is even weird to call it a motorcycle, right? It doesn't really look like a motorcycle.
Wow.
That was one of the most challenging parts of it. And then, of course, if you had claustrophobia, which I didn't, thankfully, that would have been a challenge.
Wow. That's crazy.
But it's so different seeing an LSR racer where your head is in the front and you're laying prone. I just wonder, because like normally you're laying on your back and your neck is you're pushing up and looking forward over your feet. And in this case, you're looking forward with your body behind you. And that seems very unusual. Is that correct?
It's extremely unusual. It's Jack Costella, who's the designer and builder and conceptualizer of this vehicle and a series of vehicles that are similar. This was his design, and it was very radical for the time. And his philosophy was to design things such that they can go under the wind. And he recently passed away about a little over a year ago, but his name is all throughout the record books because he's so forward thinking in things like laying prone. There certainly are.
So Andy went 141 miles an hour and broke a 25-year-old record, and then you went on and you broke the record 3 years later. It's 80 cc's, and you went 143 miles an hour. Is that correct?
Yeah. Andy broke the record at 141, and then he helped me beat his record at currently 143. So that was my foray into land speed racing.
Yeah.
One thing I was trying to bring up when I brought up this small displacement bike is that in terms of Chris, you trying this and going fast, I think going fast has a lot to do with the size of the bike you're on, because in England for years, back in the day in the 50s and 60s, people that would get on these bikes and they do the ton, and they got this thing that they were ton up rider, and that meant that they'd gone 100 miles per hour, which doesn't seem like very much, but when you're on a cobblestone road that's got horse and cow shit on it and it just rained or it's still raining, and you have roundabouts to go around.
Right.
100
I
miles
have
an
to
hour is
say,
really fast. So I mean, you take a
yeah,
small bike and go 100
right.
miles an hour. That
Well,
feels
I've
really
gone
fast.
100 miles an hour, but
No, I
my,
know, yeah, but I'm just saying that on the
right,
smaller the bike it is, the
right.
faster it feels. Would you agree with that, Erin?
Oh, well, absolutely. And
Oh,
then of
yeah.
course there's there are so many things that give you comfort when you're riding, traction and the solid feeling and the
Mm,
suspension. And so I've been more frightened at 140 on a smaller bike than at 240
mhm,
on a different bike. So it's much more
Wow.
about, yeah, like you're saying, the fundamentals of the bike and the
mm,
traction and the suspension of it,
right.
than it is necessarily about the speed.
Yeah.
Well, I have to tell you, when I did 110 miles an hour, I was scared because I was late and I was trying to get home. I was 17 years old on the back of my boyfriend's bike. We buried the speedometer at 110 on the Eisenhower Expressway in Chicago at 6 o'clock in the morning. My dad's probably watching this and he probably doesn't know anything about it, doesn't remember. But I was scared. That was fast.
It's so
Oh
funny,
my
Chris.
God.
I remember the first time I saw triple digits on a motorcycle also. And it's a story that I recently told my parents, but happened when I was a passenger at about 12 years old. You know, I only
Yeah,
recently told.
yeah. We broke
Wow.
the speedometer, so we don't even know how fast we were going. But I wouldn't do that now on a highway. Whatever. My kids aren't watching.
Why don't we
Anyway,
bring up some of the photos? How about we
yeah,
go
let's go
back and
back
start
to the
because
first one.
we have
Mhm.
like when you really first started riding and you're on your touring bikes, and we start off with this red bike. What is that here in these first couple of shots?
Mm.
So my first bike was a Honda VFR, and it was a great bike for then, and it was a
Mm.
sport touring bike. So that's a lot of Utah, Nevada. We basically looked for anywhere that we could open up the throttle a little bit, and traveled quite a bit on that bike. And it was a great bike for. That was actually the first bike that I land speed raced too, because they had something called Run What You Brung on the salt flat. So I took that bike up to the salt flats and saw how, and its top speed was 154.
Wow.
Sheesh. There
Wow.
you go.
That's
That's
something.
it's moving. Oh, that's beautiful. That's nice.
That
Yeah.
is beautiful. So now this does bring up a point here that you had a job. This wasn't like this. Your
Mhm.
partner may have had some money in his pocket and lots of time, but you did have a pretty high powered job. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, I now have the luxury of having motorcycling be my full-time gig, but that's because I was in marketing and advertising for 30 years, and I helped take a company. I was on the leadership team taking company public, and we had an IPO in 2008. And so I was all career. I was that person that was on a plane. I'm now a million miler with United because I traveled so much. So
Mm.
I was all about the corporate world and honestly a lot of kind of overachievement probably and stressing myself out. And motorcycling was the escape, the hobby that was the thing that helped me decompress from the career. And I kind of just had the opportunity to retire about 5 years ago. My last job, I was a director of marketing at a small company you guys might have heard of called Facebook, and
Okay.
and had the opportunity to leave that. And it's kind of like I decided to retire, and the first thing I did was ride across the country with Alyssa Clickinger on the Sisters Centennial ride, and a group of
Right.
50 or
Wow.
so women ride across the country was the first thing I did on retirement. So.
I would like to ask you a little bit about your time at
Yeah.
Facebook because you had a high powered position there. If I'm not mistaken, you're responsible for how a lot of companies interact with Facebook and how for them to really market themselves or monetize their participation with Facebook. Is that correct? Was that sort of what you did? Maybe you can
Yeah,
explain it.
that's a succinct description of it. Sure.
Well, why don't you take it a step further and explain it really is,
No,
'cause
it's
I really
fine.
don't know. I
She's
made that up.
retired, Mike. She's retired.
No,
I know, but
you
I'm fascinated that you had this high powered position, but you retired before you were 45 years old, right?
I retired actually 49, so just before I was 50. But
Mm,
yeah,
nice.
my most recent job, I ran a global marketing team at Facebook and had the privilege of working with a lot of. I joke, I don't know how I got in there because they hire super smart people and they give them too much work to do. Super smart overachievers, and then give them too much work to do. And so
okay, wait a minute. You're very smart. You're smart. I'm on a board with you, and I don't say it. We're in what is it? The AMA Heritage Foundation board.
we are together.
And
Yeah.
I just kind of sit there at our meetings and listen. And I've heard you're very smart, Erin. I am totally impressed with you. But let's talk more about your setting your records and stuff like that.
Sure.
Guinness Book of World
Yeah.
Records.
Sure.
So-
And I can talk about the corporate world. I loved working for Facebook. I miss a lot of it. My job was to help the advertisers that work with Facebook just understand how to use the tools better. And it's interesting because it was the end of my career, but it was the job I probably worked the hardest at and was the most tiring, but I got a lot.
And just to tie that into, and to leave that behind, as you have, do you still use social media? I mean, now that you are so involved in it, are you just fed up with it, or do you still participate?
Oh, I'm still quite active on Facebook and Instagram, and I'm probably too old to understand a lot of the new things that are out there. So I'm a bit of an old soul. So I'm certainly Facebook, certainly Instagram, and with womenwritersnow.com, which is our business. I know we'll talk about it a little bit, but we also use Facebook quite a bit for promoting the website and ensuring our magazine articles are out there. So I definitely still use it, and it's how you keep in touch with family, and you know what your cousins are up to, right?
Yeah,
Definitely.
very cool.
So we have some more pictures of Erin. There's number 3. I know, Erin, you haven't seen, you have the pictures here too. I love this picture of you on this white bike. And I'm not sure what and it's a special bike, I know.
Maybe you could tell us how you got so connected with BMW, because it seems like that is your bike of choice. Is that correct?
It is. So I've raced a few different bikes. I've raced Hondas, I've raced Suzuki's, I've raced Buell. But the S1000RR, which is the BMW that I've now owned and raced 3 of them, it really has been the best platform for what I want to do, which is it's the fastest leader bike that's out there. And so as a rider, I owned a few BMWs, but then when the S1000RR came out, it became really the best option to be the platform for us to race. So the one that's shown here in this picture, it's called an HP2 Sport, and it's all carbon fiber. It's a beautiful bike.
Wow.
I think the top speed's probably only about 155, 156, but it's not a race bike, but it's still a gorgeous bike. One of my favorites.
Now, when you did set the production bike record, didn't you, for BMW? Is that correct?
Yeah. So one of the records that we have is the world's fastest production motorcycle. So that's a 1000cc production bike. It is an S1000RR, which is a BMW, and it's a fun class to participate in because the rules are such that the bike has to be exactly the same as you would buy it off the showroom floor, even down to the license plate holder and the little feeler nubs that are on the foot pegs. If you don't have those on the bike, you don't qualify for production, which is kind of
wow.
fun. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I hope my good friend Ola Stenegard's listening tonight, because he's the designer of that bike. And I think that's so cool. And it really put him on the map. He ended up becoming the head of design at BMW, and now he's head of design at Indian Motorcycles. So they have some good stock there, and you're a testament to that with this bike. But I am curious, if I look up the record for fastest production motorcycles, now what is your record on the production bike, on the 1000R?
So the SCTA record is 207.998. I would be off of my digits, but it's 207 and change.
I'm just curious, because if I look it up online, apparently there's 2 generations. There's a newer generation of the S1000RR, and that's just from 2019 to the present. Prior to that was the first generation. First generation, which is what I guess you raced, they list the top speed as 188. I'm just curious, why wouldn't they list the top speed as the record speed?
I'm not sure they want to.
They don't want people going 207?
I'm not sure. I believe, so we might have to ask Ola that. There may be something about to kilometers per hour, and in Europe, not wanting to cite speeds over a certain kilometer per hour.
Just curious. I was wondering where that discrepancy
Can we
was.
talk about picture number 6? I'm just excited about this one because this is when you and Andy set the
Oh,
Guinness
that's
record for
wonderful.
riding 2 up. And to me, this is so amazing. I was just telling my husband and my son about it today.
What a
And my
great
son's
photo.
like, what? Well, that's a great photo of you.
Great
Definitely.
montage there.
Yeah, there it is. Okay, so tell us about this.
Yeah, so this is a record that will always be in the books because it's never going to be legal to do it again.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Why did they change that?
Well, so our concept was looking for ways to expand the sport of land speed racing, and so we had this, this great idea, which turned out to be a bad idea, to race two people on the motorcycle, and we didn't want it just to be a rider in the front and then a super small person on the back. So we came up with these rules. When I say we, it was Andy and I came up with these ideas of, all right, so both people have to be licensed riders, and we would qualify, so take one pass with one person in the front and the other person as a pillion. And then for the return run, we would switch so that it, again, wasn't just, so that both riders would be accomplished in it. Well, what turned out to happen, if you look at these images a little bit closely, especially the one on the right, the person that's on the back, and we went 180, the record was 181 miles an hour. Our top speed was 183. Wow. If you look at what I'm holding on to, and that's on the right side, that's me on the back. I'm basically holding on at 183 miles an hour with the wind trying to rip you off. And you're holding, my head's buried in his back, because if I lifted my head up, it would try to pull me off the motorcycle.
You'd be
and
gone.
I'm literally holding on with my fingers interlocked, and they're in gloves, by the way. So we took one pass, and he was excited because he was in front and in the pocket and wasn't feeling the pressure too much of the wind. I was petrified and said, we should never do this again. This is stupid. Fast forward a little bit, we did set the Guinness record, but then we all decided that this was not a safe pursuit of expanding the sport, so we decided that it should probably
end of story. You created the story and you ended it, but I didn't realize that you actually created that category. That's fantastic. You almost needed the passenger, the pillion, almost needed one of those specialized helmets that would be molded so that it would be like a slug onto the pilot, that it would come over and hold you down onto their back. Unbelievable.
You needed something smarter than what we were doing. So I'm pleased and proud that we did it, but I'm also pleased and proud that we were on a great bike and we were safe and we're good riders. So we were fine, but we realized that's probably not the best experience to expand the sports.
I cannot think of better bragging rights than to go down to the pub and say that you rode on as a passenger at over 180 miles an hour.
So Tony Tello commented twice. He said, Burl Swain was a fast woman racer, first woman to compete in the Isle of Man TT, maybe 1962, very fast road course.
Wow. That's a name.
Have you ever done the Isle of Man? Because now, of course, you're LSR, but have you ever thought about more road racing? Because that is quite the challenging course. You go up the mountain, around the island.
I will say that road racing and land speed racing are two very different skill sets. So I can hold my own on a track, but I'm not a phenomenal, and I can definitely hold my own. I can hold my own on a track, but I'm not going to be the world's best road racer or Isle of Man TT racer by any means. That said, land speed racing is it's a different skill set, and what makes you go fast in a straight line is different than what makes you go fast in a turn. So I would love to, but my gosh, those people, that I have so much respect for the Isle of Man racers.
Totally.
And like the Pikes Peak, my goodness, people that race Pikes Peak, I think that's phenomenal. It's just such a different skill set.
That's crazy. Hey, you know what? So we're going to take a commercial break, and then we come back. We're going to talk about some more of your bikes, and then talk about the AMA Award for Female Athlete of the Year in 2014. But let's take a quick break, and we'll come right back. Here we go.
guess it was about 1958 or so. I was 13 years old. A friend had a homemade motor scooter. He let me ride it, and I just was taken by that. There were garage builders everywhere before the pros took over, especially bikes and hot rods. You had to have friends that did all the different things. There's nothing in a Harley showroom I want, but if you tell me about a box, some boxes in the shed, man, I'll beat you there, you know. And then it was that fun and that personal pride that you took a basket case and you made something out of it. You know, anybody can go buy one of those, but you got to build one of these, and that's the difference. Dennis Kirk is really amazing because of so many things. There's a variety of parts, the speed, the ease of ordering. You know, you pick up the phone and just whip out a part number and it's in your shop in a day or two. I'm Ed Fish and I'm from Corinne, Pennsylvania, and I'm a Dennis Kirk garage builder.
It's Xavier with Providence Cycle Works in Austin, Texas. Your host for the 2021 High Seas Rally, the only biker rally on a cruise ship. I'm super pumped and way excited to be on the ship this year. But what I'm most excited about is the custom bike that I'm building for one of you guys to win. You're automatically entered when you come on board with us. Let's get ready to rock.
Wow. Okay. I'm not going on a boat. No, actually, it's kind of fun. I actually been on a cruise. That's so cool.
I'd love
Great
to go on
sponsors,
that.
High Seas Rally.
Wow.
Definitely cool.
That
So
sounds
you
like
know
quite
what?
the party.
Let's talk more a little bit with Erin about Andy, because Andy is such a huge presence with this racing and everything, and they're such a great relationship, and I just love their story and everything. But
We could
you know,
bring picture number 7 on to go with
Yeah.
that. There.
There we
Yeah.
are.
So,
Where's that at? Huh.
Erin,
There's Andy.
Yeah.
what do you got in this picture?
So let's see, that photo I believe would be, I'm on the left, and that's the bike that you'll see in other pictures. That's the first S1000 that I raced that later became a white and orange bike. You'll see in the other
I was
photos.
going to say you painted that bike because I see it's a What's the 1965 stat? What is this 1965 all about?
That may or may not be my birth year.
Okay. I wasn't going to say. Wow, I'm so much older than you.
And the image, the blue bike that's on the right in that photo, that's Andy on 1948, which was his birth year, and that's the first kind of more radically fared bike that we built out. That bike didn't yet have nitrous on it, but it will later have had nitrous on it. He set a number of records on that motorcycle.
I am a little confused because you're referring to the right bike is 1948 and the left bike is 1965.
That's their birth years.
But they say 1648 and 1665 are the numbers actually on in the picture.
Now that's what happens in land speed racing. So you change a class and you have to change a number quickly. So you turn the 9 upside down, it becomes a 6.
You're serious? Okay, there you go. That
yeah.
explains it very simply.
Hey, and Walter, really quick, Walter Bernardsky asked, did anyone ever, other than Erin, try to do the two up speed record, or it was the only time? I think you said it was the only time, right?
Yeah, it's the only time we had yes, it's the only time it's officially been attempted, to my knowledge. Somebody can correct me if they want, but at least for
well, Mike, we're not doing it. I'm not going on that thing. But let's talk about
Chris, you and me. Chris, you and me will do it.
Okay. We'll do it on my 34. Okay, we'll go real slow. I'll put you on the rack in the back, and you're gonna hang on.
For dear life.
Yeah, right. But talk about 2014, the AMA Female Athlete of the Year. I don't know if anybody knows. This is really, really prestigious award, and I'm so proud of you, Erin.
Oh, thank you. I was incredibly honored just to
Mhm.
even be nominated, and then to win it sort of blew
Mhm.
my mind. But yeah, I was acknowledged as the AMA Female Athlete of the Year in 2014.
Right.
And yeah, it just, I was so stunned. I think I almost fell over when I was there.
Well, there's two
Yeah,
nice pictures of you here on the stage getting your award.
yeah,
It's
and
really
incredibly honored to have gotten that, and surprised. And like I said, even to be nominated was um, a thrill, and then to win it was just
Oh my
something
God.
else.
Yeah,
And to
great.
serve the AMA with you, Chris, like I love being on the Heritage Foundation board. I feel
Mhm.
it's really important, the work that AMA does to preserve the
Right.
sport and acknowledge athletes in it. So that was
Definitely, definitely.
blown away by
Well,
that.
And
that
then,
certainly looks like quite the posh affair too. I mean,
oh yeah.
you don't look like you just got off the salt there for sure.
Yeah, we actually clean up all right. Some of us.
Yes,
Yeah.
we do. Yeah. I presented Peter Starr his award a couple of years ago, and I tell you, I wore a dress. I had motorcycle boots under my dress, but I wore a nice dress, and you know
There
what?
you go.
We do clean up well.
You clean up.
Definitely.
There you go.
I'm sure you
Yep.
look beautiful.
Anyway, so you started. So some stuff happened. I know Andy passed away, and then your life really changed in a
Yeah,
radical way.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, life has a way of
Mhm.
throwing you curveballs, right? And I always knew I'd continue to ride. He would have wanted me to continue to ride. He probably wouldn't have predicted the turn into adventure riding that I have taken, but I know he would be respectful of it and appreciate it. But I never ridden a bike in the dirt before, other than land speed racing on salt. But I got an invitation to come do that at BMW Rawhide in shortly after Andy passed away, and went up and took the class and enjoyed off-road riding. I found that it made me a better overall rider and a better land speed racer. So going slow in the dirt makes you faster
There you
on the
go.
salt, I guess. So
Well, you challenge yourself to step out of that comfort zone and to do other things. And like you said, you never said no to anything, but just doing
Yeah.
different things and just pushing forward is really rewarding. And you're such an inspiration to other women by doing
But
stuff like that too.
with Rawhide, though, I mean, you enjoyed that adventure, but don't you actually work with them in some capacity?
Yeah, so I went up, I took the class. I enjoyed adventure riding, and I became a coach. So I am a certified trainer for BMW Rawhide, and I teach people now how to ride those big bikes in the dirt. And I found, you mentioned about Andy passing away. I found that the motorcycling community sort of gave me a big bear hug, and was a safe haven and a great place to be, and a reason to get out of bed in the morning, honestly.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, and I've been adventure riding. I actually met Trev Richter, who's on our team and also is my boyfriend now. So that was a very good thing that came out of adventure riding and Rawhide, and sort of life goes forward. And now I ride on the dirt and on the salt and on the asphalt and anywhere I can when I can.
Okay, we got to get you on the cannonball. That'll be next week. But let's talk about Bolivia. And then you went and you raced in Bolivia, right, in 2018.
Yeah. So we had the opportunity. We were one of a few teams that were invited to race on the Uyuni Salt Flats in Bolivia. So the Bonneville Salt Flats, where we race, are about 40 square miles. The Uyuni Salt Flats, just by contrast, are 4,000 square miles. And it's at significant altitude, so that posed a challenge for the bikes. But my whole team was there, and we had a great time. We were able to set a new world record. I set a top speed there of 242 miles an hour, and a new world record of 238 miles an hour on my nitrous bike. And those were the videos you mentioned earlier. It's a great series that Stephen Gregory put together, where you can kind of follow the trials and tribulations, because just getting to Bolivia with a race team and expensive motorcycles and nitrous and fuel, and it's quite the ordeal to put on an event like that. Even the fact that we got there was amazing. So
there was more than one truck, it seemed, wasn't there? I saw a semi. Wasn't there an additional truck?
So there were my team and Ralph Hudson, the late Ralph Hudson, who is the world's fastest. He's gone over 300 miles an hour on a motorcycle. Al Lamb and his team were there. Rocky Robinson and his team were there. So there were, I believe, all told, we had 3 or 4 containers that arrived, plus all the equipment, the timing equipment, and the equipment to create a track. It was quite a production and quite an ordeal to pull off. Yeah.
Well, when you say create a track, does that involve a grader or some sort of a large equipment that you got locally, or how do they do that?
So they got the farmers to come out from a uni in Bolivia.
Wow.
So they had farmers that were pulling I-beams behind their trucks for a month ahead of the time that we arrived, and they grade a 15-mile course for us. So it's 15 miles. I think it's probably 50 yards wide and 15 miles long. So they put out tremendous to give us the privilege of racing for world records. Yeah.
I believe you said it was a little bit wet this year that you did go for the record, or at least wetter than it was when you'd gone the previous year. How does it compare to Bonneville? Can you compare those tracks? They're obviously both salt, so they're variable in terms of the moisture content. The big difference is that a uni is so much larger that there is more area for us to find a good place of elevation that might be out of the damp salt. And then the biggest challenge is that in Bolivia, the altitude is such that a naturally aspirated bike will not make enough power. So the altitude gives us less wind resistance because the air is less dense, but it also gives you less power because the bike's going to make the bike. Yeah.
It completely changes.
What bike did you take? Do we have a photo of that, Erin? Do we have a photo of that bike or a photo of
You
Bolivia?
have 18, 19, and 20 and 21.
Okay, that's what I thought. Those are that's your team there, right? There we go. Yeah.
Gray
Wow,
bikes.
great shot.
So the gray bikes, they're both S1000 BMW S1000 RRs. The one that has the more radical fairing on it, its name is Snoopy, and it has that's the one on the right in that image, and it has nitrous in the tail, so that is what enables me to make the power. And then the one that Trev is on the left, its name is Woodstock. And we brought it because we needed a parts bike for the other bike, but also we wanted to see if a normally aspirated bike would perform well. And unfortunately at altitude, it didn't, but we were still able to set a record on.
Oh, that's great.
And, Trev also, sorry, go ahead.
Will you ever go back down there for records, or is there no reason to anymore?
I certainly would go. We don't need the length of course. These bikes don't need 15 miles. The reason that they make a 15-mile course is because a streamliner. So Rocky Robinson or Valerie Thompson or Guy Martin, who are in the big streamliners that are trying to go 400 miles an hour, they need that much distance. I really don't. So I have a fear of missing out. So if there's a Bolivia event, I probably would go because I got total FOMO if I'm not there. But I can do just as well on the Bonneville all flats.
Plus, you could take an adventure bike with you and extend your time down there, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Oh my God. The death road? No way.
I was wondering in one of the videos, you're looking, and by the way, our viewers, you have to check these out because one of them is a 360 view from the cockpit, and the viewer of the video controls the direction that you're looking. So you could actually turn the camera, look at Erin's face, and you could turn it back and see the speedometer and what she's seeing. It's quite exciting. But in looking at the view where you could see the speedometer, and you see it hitting, I think it was 237, is that right, the top speed there?
238.
238. And you see as you're approaching that, like at first it's just going up so fast. And then as you get to those last few miles per hour, it just inches and it's like just touching it. And what is that like when you go like, oh my God, there's nothing left? And are you through the flying mile at that point? Or is it in the flying mile, you've hit it and there's just nothing left?
I'm trying to get there before I'm in the mile. And then at that point, I'm trying to get there before I hit the mile because your speed is the average over mile. So you have to hold that for 15, 20 seconds. So I'm trying to get there first. And then honestly, I'm just seeing if I can somehow get smaller and just get smaller. And can I can I somehow tip my toe in a little bit differently? Can I bring my shoulders in a little, like, can I do anything to get smaller?
So it's really, there's nothing left in the bike. You've gotten everything out of it you can.
I better have, if I've done my job right. I mean, one of the things that the bike
And then
will
just getting smaller. You know, one of our viewers commented and they asked, how long does it take to go from 0 to 200? Now, that seems more like a question for a drag racer. So can you compare this to drag racing at all? Because they're both trying to get speed, but drag is like,
It's not a quarter mile, Mike.
you got just seconds to get it, whereas you're building. So
I also have to manage it, because if the nitrous system is so complicated and I can only carry so much nitrous on board, that I don't want to run out of nitrous while I'm in the mile. So we have to manage this way. You know, there's a lot of skill and science that goes into what we're doing, because if I'm less than 100% throttle, the nitrous turns itself off. If I spin up and hit a little bit point of the soft in traction, and I hit the rev limiter, the nitrous will turn itself off. I can run out of nitrous if I get on too early. If the nitrous comes in early, maybe half a mile too early, then I'm going to run out of it while I'm in the time mile, and I won't set a record.
You know, I don't want to change the subject, but because we're talking about the racing thing, but I do want to mention that your bike, 1965, your orange bike, is one of only 3 motorcycles that's been sent to the Smithsonian for an exhibit at the Air and Space Museum. And when will that open? Is it this year?
That's another thing that blows my mind. They tell us now it's going to be 2022, and the Air and Space Museum has an exhibit called America, a Nation of Speed. And Craig Breedlove there's Craig Breedlove and Evel Knievel, and I've seen renderings of the exhibit. And yeah, this little orange and white bike somehow found its way. So it's going to be sitting in the Smithsonian. So it's got to.
Wow, congratulations. That, again, what an honor, right? That is so cool. So Erin's a member of the Bonneville 200 Mile Per Hour Club, 3-time Guinness Book record holder. Yay! And I want to talk about Shimoto also, because it's very important. It's your award scholarship that you've come up with. Tell us about Shimoto.
Oh, sure. So we provide an award to encourage women in land speed racing, because it's one of the sports where men and women race equally against one another. So aren't women's records and men's records, they're just records. And so when I first went up there were 4 women that were racing, and we just decided to provide a scholarship. So I give a little financial award for a female racer, and then I give a second award for her to give to the person who's the encouragement in her life, because I know I would not have been able to do anything.
And we're showing the photo right now of the women on the salt. How it has grown tremendously.
Oh my God, there's so many cool women in there, like Leslie Porterfield. There's so many. I'm humbled to be in that crowd.
Yeah, Leslie's awesome too. Yeah, totally. Yeah. And then
Jody Perowitz, I'm sure a lot of people know Jody. Jody's in that picture.
A lot of people know Jody, definitely. Jody Perowitz, definitely great racer. So someone asked what is the fastest you've ever gone?
So my top speed so far is 242, and the top average mile is 237. And that was on Bolivia Salt Flats. And we've since then changed and improved the fairing of the bike and added more nitrous. So we'll see.
Wow. Where's going to be the next attempt?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, when are you going to race next?
The next racing hopefully will be August of this year, but my motor builder is in Australia, and I will not race my nitrous bike without him present. So it depends on whether we can, whether travel will allow him to be here or not. So hopefully August, if not next year.
And I know you've been busy since 2018, when you and Sarah Schilke, our other friend Sarah, took on a little project, a little website called Women Riders Now.
Yeah, Sarah and I had the opportunity to carry forth Genevieve Schmidt's legacy. Genevieve started womenridersnow.com over 20 years ago, and Genevieve moved out, and she's since come back to help us. But Sarah Schilke and I, who many of you might know from Schuberth or from BMW or from her motocross racing, I mean, she's a phenomenal rider and racer in her own. But we took over womenridersnow.com and want to carry forward its mission of making sure that women in motorcycling have a good resource. So there's a all kinds of resources and articles and gear guides and bike reviews from a female point of view. So yeah, we took that over and have been having a ton of fun with that. Yeah.
I'm a big fan. I
Thank
read
you.
it
Yeah,
all the
thanks
time.
I know you had Jennifer on your show too.
We did. I love Jennifer. I want to get Sarah on too sometime. I want to get Trish back also.
You also have other fans that are commenting online. Somebody that says they're just wearing their Hunter Sills racing hat yesterday, Drew Woodford, and also there's a woman from Ashley from the Buell sisters who commented, "I can't wait for the day that she could walk up to Erin, and how you're a big reason why she's on the Buell, because she wants to walk up and say how she went 150." So that's what she's looking for, is getting to say that in person to you.
Awesome.
That's awesome, Ashley, and hi, Drew.
Wow. So many people commenting here. That's so great. And we had someone from, what was it, Malaysia?
Yes, Malaysia. There's somebody from Malaysia who just said a shout out from Malaysia.
Oh,
Hello,
wow.
hello, I am from Indonesia. That's the comment. Mike Podger is in the house again from Prince Edward Island as well, coming in from all over.
And Keith Kronoff wants to know, how long did it take to go from 0 to 201?
Well, we kind of answered that.
I guess we did. It wasn't like a quarter mile thing. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not a drag race. If I'm on the throttle, so a key thing about land speed racing is maintaining traction. So I have to build power in a way that'll keep traction to the ground. It's a little bit different than drag racing. Yeah.
Well, you have a lot of traction going on, I have to say. You're making some tracks, girl.
Chris,
Definitely. Wow.
You've been one of my idols forever, Chris. And Michael, I'm so glad I got to finally meet you. And I know I share time between Boulder and San Francisco. So when I'm in Boulder, we are getting together and we are riding, Michael.
I can't wait to go riding. And that could be riding up on the mountains too, though. You could take out your snowboard. I'd be happy with that as well.
All right. I know you're an avid skier. Yeah.
He likes the snow. Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, any other plans, any other things you see yourself doing within the next few years?
No, my passion's now really continuing with womenridersnow.com. That's super important for me to continue to provide that resource. I know I want to, we'll keep racing the bikes, and then honestly, the adventure riding, traveling more. I'm grateful that I get to coach for Ride. It gives me the opportunity to do some really cool tours and just go out and explore on the bikes. And, that might be slowing down a little bit, in a good way.
Yeah. Well, the woman of speed slowing down. Is there any desire to hit 300 and, go even more streamlined or anything like that? Or are you happy with where you are on the SSR 100s?
I'm a big cheerleader and fan for Al Lamb and his pursuit of being the first sit-on motorcycle at a record of 300, and certainly Ralph Hudson, who did go 300 and unfortunately passed away this year. Big fan of their efforts, but no, I don't have a grand desire to go 300. Don't need to do that. I'm not saying no, but it's not on my list right now. And then there are motorcycles trying to be the first to go 400, and I absolutely wish them well. But no, I'm done in streamliners. I've done that. I'm good.
Yeah, I have one other question then. So much when I'm watching these videos of you going down on the salt and you hear that sound, and it's often at a distance because you could be miles away and you hear that acceleration as it's going in the distance, but it's so internal combustion. So what about electric bikes? Have you ever tried one? Is there any interest in it? Does the sound not appeal to you? I mean, there's a lot of power there and a lot of speed to be had. Any thoughts on it?
I would never say no if somebody brought an interesting project my way. I enjoy going fast, and I'm an accomplished jockey. I don't want to build the bike, but somebody brought an interesting project my way, I wouldn't say no to it. So we'll see.
Right.
Maybe it'll be BMW with their first electric or something.
Yeah, there you go. Well, step up, Erin.
Hey,
You're
Erin,
gonna get the phone call. It's coming. Our host would like to know, how does it feel to lose traction at 200 miles an hour?
So one of the most important things that learning to ride off-road did for me was teaching me to become comfortable when the bike gets squirrely, and it does at 200 miles an hour. So you do lose traction. It feels more like floating than it does like hooking up. And the whole trick of what we're doing is to be calm in that situation and not react and just trust the bike and know that the bike is going to perform well enough for you. So the key to that is not reacting and not panicking in that kind of situation.
Wow.
Trust. Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yep. Turn into the direction of the skid. I like that one. I want to show the last two
Boy.
pictures are really cool. I love the picture of the four of you from Women Riders Now. We have to show that picture of the girls. There you go. Okay.
Oh yeah. I'm very proud to be able to work with this team. That's myself and Sarah. Yeah.
That's a great picture.
That was Genevieve receiving the Bessie Stringfield Award for
That's right.
being groundbreaking. So it was she absolutely was. Yeah.
Yep.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And of course, this last picture we have, I think, sums things up where you're headed and what's going on in your life here.
Yeah, you and Trev.
I love that photo because it's it's the sport bike that's properly sit on its rear stand, and then the adventure bike that is just also properly laid down on the salt. I just think it kind of says a lot about the different styles of riding. So I love this image. So that bike that Trev is standing on the left actually is the world's fastest GS. That we didn't get a chance to talk about that, but that's a project we did for a PTSD charity, and we donated that bike to them, and Trev set a record to be the world's fastest GS on that bike. So it's just a fun photo. It shows the dichotomy of motorcycling, right?
It's a fun photo, and it really shows the spirit for sure.
Yeah.
That's great. And that was a wonderful project you did with the GS, and the video on that is great as well.
Thank you.
Great cause, and really well done.
Great website. Yes, I enjoyed looking at your videos too.
Yeah.
Well,
thank you.
This has been so awesome catching up with you and letting our viewers learn about you, and those that knew to learn more, and those that didn't know to get to know you at all. So it's been great. I'm sure you got a lot of new followers after tonight.
Well, I'm appreciative of all of it, and we couldn't, do it without all the support of people like you. And I'm super grateful and really enjoy following the Coast to Coast show, and the Cannonball, Chris. Let's do it.
Yeah. Wait a minute. We'll talk about that. All right. Well, thank you, Erin. Let's stay in touch. I'll be up in Mendocino sometime in the next couple months, hopefully.
I'd love to see you. That would be great.
Right on.
Thanks so much, Erin. Appreciate it.
Right. Thank you, Erin. Take care.
Well, out there. See ya. Bye.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. What a woman, huh?
I know. We keep finding these women are just out there. I mean, Erin is just, every time I hear about the things she did, I didn't know that. I did know that. So it's like,
I know. Wow. A lot of accolades.
Yeah.
Well, that was great.
Definitely.
Who do we have next week? Who do we have coming out?
I want to thank our sponsors in Cyclosaurus, Chopper Town, everybody. Don't forget to tune in to Cannonball Chronicles tomorrow night. I'm not sure who they
Mike
have
Cables. Mike Cables is on tomorrow night.
Yes,
So
great.
it should be a great show. And again, of course, Sunday night for Shop Talk.
Great.
And please check out Chris's and my websites and social media if you can. And that's great.
And I guess we'll see you next week. And I think we have Vanessa Ruck on next week from the UK.
Yes, we do.
Girl on a Bike. Check her out. Girl on a Bike.
That's going to be another really exciting week. And she's staying up late at night to just do it live with us too, which is great.
Yeah, I think it's like 2 a.m. or something in UK.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to getting her story out.
Yeah. Well, have a great week. I don't know if if you have more snow coming in, what you got going on.
There's plenty of snow.
Yeah. Okay. All right. You take care. Thanks, everybody. Be safe out there. And we'll see you next week.
And you stay dry in Hawaii from all that rain.
Hey, we had a sunny day today. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
I know. Yay. All right, everybody. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Bye-bye. Good night.